massive video game launched last year. You may have heard of it. Action RPG, first of its kind to be open world. Tons of bosses to fight. Something about rings. That's right, Sonic Frontiers. Elden Ring did launch last year, and if you asked me in November last year, I might have said to you that Elden Ring was my favorite game ever. But CDPR said, hold my maiden, and the next-gen update to The Witcher 3 has solidified the fact that The Witcher 3 is my favorite game of all time. The year is 2015. A young Norza is working in IT, asking people if they've turned it off and on again and if it's even plugged in. I was really excited for The Witcher 3 back then. I'd played The Witcher 2, fell in love with the fantasy world that Sapkowski and CDPR had created, and I couldn't wait to play a massive open world variation on what The Witcher 2 was trying to do, and that big budget kind of version of that. I was really excited to check it out. I actually took 2 weeks leave just to play The Witcher 3, and let me tell you, I did nothing else in those 2 weeks. I literally just played The Witcher 3. I think I put 100 hours just in that initial 2-week period. I just played so much The Witcher. It was great though, and I just upgraded my PC, so everything looked amazing. It was such an amazing time in my life, and literally all I did was play The Witcher. So it has a very close place in my heart, this game, and since that time I have played it again on the PlayStation 4 and on the Switch. As soon as it came out on Switch, I bought that edition that comes with the map and everything, and I've laid in bed playing The Witcher until late in the evening, and I'm so glad that they did do this kind of next gen update. That's brought me back into the game. It has actually been a while since I've properly played the game. I would say maybe 3 years since I've really given the game a good solid crack, and I haven't even finished the game in maybe 5+ years. So I've often played the game and just kind of done a couple of quests or got to the Novigrad part of the game and then kind of bounced and got my Witcher fix. But I really committed this time to actually trying to finish The Witcher 3. That was kind of my goal really with this next gen update. Even without talking about the changes the next-gen update made, there is something special and truly masterful about the design of The Witcher 3. Firstly, let's talk about the general gameplay loop itself. You start out, obviously, as Geralt, and you do your Geralt-y things in White Orchid, which is a very self-contained open-world space that teaches you all of the main mechanics of the game, how to fight monsters, how to interact with people, make some decisions, the different players that are going to be in the game, like Novigrad and etc. And then it expands out from that point, and you get Velen, Novigrad, and Skellig. These other 3 areas, these massive open world areas to explore and do those same kind of things. Now, depending on the choices you make and what you do, those sections of the game will last a certain amount of time. And after you've done those, the game really then hyper focuses on the story. It gives you that time in the early stages of the game and the time to really expand and go out and do these Witcher contracts and explore and do whatever you kind of like. And then once you hit that Isle of Mist point, the game's like, right, this is the story, now you need to pay attention. And I really like that kind of loop where it teaches you to explore, have fun, enjoy the game at your own pace, and then when it's time to knuckle down and do something serious, the game is like, here we go, let's do it. And conversely to that, after you do that Isle of Mist point in the game, it's very emotional. The story really kicks off and you get so much payoff to all of these different character moments and interactions that you had during your journey with Yen and Triss and Lambert and Zoltan and Dandelion and Ciri and etc, etc. All these moments that you've kind of been building to, and Geralt's meeting these characters and catching up with old friends. You have the time once you get to Kaer Morhen to really breathe with those characters, and the excellent writing is really brought out from that point where you have those moments, especially you get drunk with Lambert and Eskel, and that is just the funniest scene. I love that moment in the game, and there's so many moments like that feel like true payoff to the character and really bring, even though Geralt is just so ho-hum, I don't have any emotion, but there is true emotion in these moments, and it's just really hilarious and fun to see, and I really enjoy that part of the game. The world of The Witcher perfectly fits itself into a video game because of the Witcher contracts that you can do, the dark and gritty world where no one is really a good guy, and Sapkowski really brings that out in his writings as well. If you've read the books, which when my first time playing this game I hadn't, after reading the books, it makes such a difference to all these little different dialogue lines that are clearly referring to things from Geralt's past that now I'm like, oh, I know what they're talking about here. That really helped with my enjoyment of playing this game another time, but I'm getting sidetracked. What I was going to say is that Sapkowski's theme for the Witcher world is that, the humans are really the monsters, and it lends so well to a game because of how you can have those interactions with people, and you have those characters that really aren't good guys, or characters that are much more complex than just ho-hum, good guy, bad guy, or by BioWare, Paragon, and Renegade choices. There's a lot more complexity in that, and I love these moments where you make a decision and later on you get those little pop-ups that are really Geralt just like explaining the events and how things have really shaped because of the decisions you've made, and it really feels impactful. And that's what I love about RPGs, is that choice with actual consequence. Like, I hate RPGs that you make a choice and it means nothing and it's never really talked about again. It's just like, oh, you picked up the red pill rather than the blue pill, but we still ended up with a purple pill anyway. Like, whatever it happens to be, I love the fact that this game is really committed to having you make choices, and those choices have consequences and they can impact not only the ending of the game, but the where different characters go and, the different political plays in the world, especially like in Skellig, for example. So we're 5 minutes into this video and I haven't even talked about the next gen changes. So let's do that now. The next gen update, we've made many videos about the next gen update and what they changed, but something that really surprised me was how beautiful the world looks. Even without ray tracing, like on the PlayStation 5, the game looks fantastic with this new camera angle, which I think is severely underrated, is how exceptional this camera angle is. So, whoever's idea this was at CDPR, like kudos to them, because it's just makes the world feel so different. Like when you're fighting big monsters and you can actually see how big they are compared to Geralt, it adds a different level of terror to the world and fighting all of those kind of monsters. And, I was thinking about it while in the Skellig section, and Skellig looks just phenomenal on this update. That, some of these moments where you're just like walking around Skellig and, the sun's coming through the trees and you see monsters in the distance. And can you just picture someone at E3 or some gameplay demo being like, introducing this game today as if it came out today, and how wowed people would just be floored by how great it looks, and being able to go and explore over there and see that dragon flying in the air, and then you go make these story decisions with this person and stuff. Like, even today you could release this exact game and it would perform just as well and probably have the same amount of zeitgeist around it that it already does, because of how much quality is put into this game. And with this next gen update and updating all the textures and graphics, etc., it just really adds to those elements. One of the biggest changes to me, and I think it comes in 2 parts really, is the full combat rebalance that changed the way that all the skills and everything work, but also the fact that I decided to commit to playing this game on Deathmarch difficulty. I've never played The Witcher 3 on Deathmarch before, and I'm not particularly someone that loves playing the games on the hardest difficulty ever. I often do it for like the builds and stuff that I talk about on this channel. I've always played them on the hardest difficulty, but when I'm playing games casually, I often like to play them on, a normal or story difficulty, because I'm constantly pushing myself to play games, on the hardest difficulty for the channel. But conversely, I thought, look, I'm going to commit to Deathmarch, and I'm so glad that I did. Playing this game on Deathmarch difficulty actually made such a difference to my enjoyment, because the game is hard and you really have to be a Witcher. Often playing this game on, let's say, the normal difficulty, you can kind of just like spam fast attacks regardless of your build and just succeed, and it doesn't really matter that much. But on Deathmarch, you've got to use your Witcher signs. You've got to use oils and bombs and potions and decoctions and mixing all these things together. Even if you're not running an alchemy build, you have to use these things to succeed in combat and deal with the Witcher contracts, and especially in the early stages of the game where it's really hard before you get like any of those good skills and start really leveling up. I found so much enjoyment in the difficulty in this game, which is not something I ever thought I would. The one thing that I often hear about The Witcher 3 is how lacking the combat can be in some areas and how it's not the best. But I actually think that you increase the difficulty, the combat gets significantly better, because it forces you to learn the enemy attacks. It forces you to dodge and roll and block and parry, because you have to, or else you're gonna die. And I think that that is such a powerful realization into how to really bring out the combat system that CDPR have created, and it comes from that difficulty and having to learn the systems, because the monsters actually have different attacks and different animations and intricacies to them, which, for the most part I kind of knew about, especially for the ones you do in the Witcher contracts, but also didn't really, because I never had to learn the intricacies of their different attacks and how they attack, because I just spammed fast attacks regardless of my build, to be honest. But for the most part, when you play on Deathmarch, you have to learn those systems and those mechanics, because you're gonna die, and if you don't want to die and you want to progress, you've got to do it. And I found so much enjoyment in just learning those mechanics and bringing everything together, and it really felt like increasing this experience and making it again a new experience, just like the next gen update has with the new camera angle and all the different updates and stuff that they have. But maybe not the dandelion face, because that looks horrendous, but everything else looks absolutely fantastic with this next gen update.
One more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Geralt.
So why is it still my favorite video game of all time? I hope I've answered that more or less in this video, but it comes down to a couple of things. It's the open world. It's so detailed and so intricate, and there is so many things to explore and do. Plus the fact that side quests and Witcher contracts aren't all the same. You know, these aren't just checklist things that you have to do, which in most open world games they are. It's just you go over here and you do this little quest and nothing really changes. In The Witcher 3, a lot of these things, they might not even necessarily be a Witcher contract to fight some sort of a monster. There might be a little twist in that story, especially in the side quests. Like a lot of the side quests, even if they're just one side quest that's not linked to a big chain of different events, there's always intricacies and little twists and turns in them that I really enjoy, because you never know what you're going to get out of these. It's not just go over here, fetch this thing and bring it back. There's intricacies to that, and then the main story itself I think is absolutely exceptional, and I completely forgot how good the base game main story is, especially after you do Isle of Mist, when all those character moments and the characters get brought together for Kaer Morhen and the battle for Kaer Morhen, and the payoff and impact of those moments, especially when now that I have read the books and I understand, you know, the character journeys that all these characters have gone on, that moment at the end when all the characters are brought together, and I'm trying not to spoil anything if you haven't finished the game yourself, but it's emotional, it's earnest, and it makes sense for the characters and the world that has been created with them. And CDPR has done such a good job of progressing the Witcher storyline in such a perfect way that feels like a true adaptation of the source material that it's coming from. Let me know in the comments what you think of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Also, this video was basically entirely unscripted, so let me know if you like these more discussion type videos where I'm literally just talking off the cuff. I'm really interested to try new things this year in this 2023 brand new year, so I'm interested to know your feedback down below as well. Thank you for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.